Welcome or welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful day, or at least a better day than Juul is having. Juul agrees to pay $1.2 billion in youth vaping settlement, according to the Bloomberg News. Juul Labs has agreed to pay $1.2 billion to resolve about 10,000 lawsuits targeting the e-cigarette maker as a major cause of a U.S. youth vaping epidemic. Essentially, this covered 10,000 plaintiffs and 5,000 cases in the state of California. And the issue was Juul was advertising to children, but it was making these advertisements deceptive in such a way that the kids wouldn't really know it was advertising, and it would make vaping look cool. They would hire influencers on social media platforms, TikTok, etc., to have these Juuls, and they would try and get kids addicted to nicotine. Juul, of course, denied that they did this, obviously, because it is very illegal to be advertising both to children and also advertising nicotine to children, because nicotine is banned in the United States. I believe it's the age of 18, and in some places, or maybe nationally, it was raised to the age of 21. So Juul did a bit of a big oopsie with this, and this comes off the back of another lawsuit. The sweeping settlement, a different one, comes a few months after the company was ordered to pay nearly $440 million to settle a 2-year investigation by 33 states into its marketing tactics. And this, again, has to do with the whole marketing to children, specifically marketing nicotine to children, which nicotine is not good for anybody, and it's especially bad for developing people. Now, after this big settlement came out, and this was just a couple days ago, it looks like, Juul put out the most bullshit PR statement I have ever read in my entire life. And given my choice of work, I have read quite a few of them. A company spokesperson said this week, "These settlements represent a major step towards strengthening the Juul Labs operations and securing the company's path forward to fulfill its mission to transition adult smokers away from combustible cigarettes while combating underage use." This is disgusting. If anyone believes this statement, then you are an idiot. Juul does not care about any of this. It does not care about transitioning adult smokers away from combustible cigarettes, nor does it care about combating the underage use. Case in point being the fact that they were fined $440 million for encouraging underage use of Juul products. You are a number to Juul. They only care about profit. And that's not specific to Juul. That's across any company ever. They exist to make profits. Companies do. And that's not even necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing comes in when they start breaking laws in order to achieve that product. And that's when you get situations like this, where you're paying $1.2 billion because you broke the law. And if you need any proof at all that this is just a bizarrely naive and untrue statement about a company that only cares about profits, Juul literally advertised to kids. Juul told a 9th grade class their products were totally safe according to teen testimony. Someone's school held a health and addiction seminar 3 times a year, and during which the teachers would leave the room so that the students have a safe space to talk. This is very important because you're worried about the judgment of your teacher. So the students getting to talk to a health professional and discuss complicated issues, having to do with health and addiction is really important for them. They need a safe space in order to be helped to work through these things, because health and addiction is a very complicated thing. It's a complicated thing for adults, and ergo it is even more complicated for children. Now, during this particular seminar, the students were alone in the classroom with a Juul representative during a mental health and addiction seminar. So obviously they've gone horribly wrong right off the bat. But Mintz, who was one of the children there, testified that the representative repeatedly told them that Juul was, quote, totally safe. Now, obviously I know, and probably you know if you're watching this video, that is just completely and utterly incorrect. It is not safe. It contains nicotine, which is not a safe substance to ingest in any way. But these are high schoolers. These kids don't know that. They don't have the reference point that I have, and probably you have as well. So then the article goes on to talk about a different kid, 16-year-old Furman, who said he was addicted to nicotine at the time of the Juul presentation, testified that Mintz asked the presenter what to do if his friend is addicted to nicotine. The speaker thought he was talking about cigarettes and said he should mention Juul to his friend because that's a safer alternative than smoking cigarettes, and it would be better for the kid to use, Furman said. In no world should you ever recommend that your friend use Juul. I don't care if he's addicted to cigarettes or not. If you have an underage friend who is, 14, 15, 16, whatever years old, and he's addicted to nicotine, you should recommend that he get professional help. At that age, the school system will help in support him through that and get him off of that. In no world is recommending Juul a good idea, because Juul is also nicotine. It will carry those same health effects and damages that cigarettes would cause. So there is not a world in which Juul is trying to combat underage use. As you can see, they are actively trying to promote it because there's money in it. Kids, they have money. And often they don't have a lot of expenses, so they can afford to pick up a Juul for a couple of bucks, and it makes them feel good and look cool with their friends. And this is something that these companies have been actively trying to promote. To be clear, I do not have any issues with vaping or smoking at all. If you are a fully knowledgeable, consenting adult, you can do what you want with your life, as long as you're not at immediate risk to yourself or people around you. Frankly, I don't really care. It's your life. You live it how you please. But where I do have a problem is when you bring kids into it, because kids are stupid. And I don't mean that in a mean or derogatory way. They just don't have the life experience or the reference point that most adults do. They haven't had a friend who's gone through nicotine addiction and then died from lung cancer. Or in more extreme examples, they haven't known people that have lost their lives to drunk drivers. And so drunk driving doesn't seem like as much of an issue to them. And kids being naive about this kind of stuff isn't really an issue because they're kids. They don't need to be worrying about the ins and outs of these complicated topics surrounding addiction and death. That's not their job. They should enjoy their innocent, happy childhood, and that's okay. But what's not okay is when these companies know that, and so they step in to deliberately try and take advantage of the fact that kids don't know that much about mental health. They don't know that much about addiction or the effects of nicotine, or how devastating lung cancer is going to be and how life-threatening the health conditions associated with vaping are. So if you know a kid that's addicted, try and get them some help. If you have friends that are addicted and you're young or in high school watching this, then get them some help. One other thing I wanted to talk about that I thought was kind of interesting is the fact that only Juul appears to really be affected by this, because there are other companies doing this as well. Elf Bar vaping brand breaks advertising rules by selling to children. An Observer investigation found that the product was being promoted by social influencers who claimed to be paid for the advertisements. The videos are not age restricted and in most cases are not clearly labeled as ads, often garnering thousands of views on apps like TikTok, which is used by 3/4 16 to 17-year-olds and half of 8 to 11-year-olds. But Elf isn't getting hit with any kind of regulations. Only Juul is. But I mean, it goes on. Lawmakers, up here at the top, lawmakers say Puff Bar used pandemic marketing to teens. And down here, it talks specifically about an advertisement. A second advertisement included in the complaint features an attractive woman wearing a tight t-shirt spewing a big cloud of vapor. The same picture was used in a separate advertisement suggesting vaping a Puff Bar was a way to relax over spring break. You could argue that college students have spring break, and they most certainly do, but high schoolers also have spring breaks. And clearly this is an attempt to say, oh no, we were just advertising to college students about relaxing over the spring break, and not to high schoolers. So it's a deliberate kind of double entendre here so that they can claim they were trying to target college students, when in reality, if a couple of high school students got mixed into the advertisement and thought it was cool and bought it, oops, they still make the money. You are a number to them. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing that people are just walking numbers for companies to try and profit off of, as long as they're shrewd consumers who are aware of all the options and aren't forced into monopolies. But with kids, they don't know that. They don't have that reference point. And so they need to be protected from that with harsh government regulation. Now, I personally would argue that if Juul has been advertising to children, then the whole company should just be dissolved. You're done. The executives on it are no longer allowed to be executives for any other tobacco-related brands, and possibly not any other companies at all. And that's just that. If you break the law and you harm people who are underage and don't know any better, then you never get to conduct business again. And I think that's a fair punishment, because it's a very low bar not to get kids addicted to nicotine. It really is. I have not gotten a single kid addicted to nicotine in my entire life. And I think it's not too much to ask of anyone to also not get kids addicted to nicotine. So that's all I have to say. I really think this is good that they're being fined. I think they should be punished more harshly than they are. So if you know someone that is addicted to nicotine, do not suggest Juul to them. Just get them the help they need from schools or counselors, and don't vape, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow.